We're going live! Hello. Facebook, YouTube. Not that anyone really watches on YouTube live, do they? That's a funny one. And of course, my beautiful connections on LinkedIn. If you are tuning in, thank you for joining the Green Umbrella Live Lunch. We started about 30 seconds late because I was stressing over lighting, because apparently I've become a bit of one of those. I might have not bothered putting my makeup on today, but I'm like, no, I've got to be perfectly lit, guys. It's got to be right. So there you go. So as usual, we are pitching up to just catch up with each other, really talk about what we've been up to, but also cover off some of what we're seeing in the social media news this week, talk about some trends maybe that we've been noticing across our client base with the stuff that we're doing, and maybe even offering a tip or so along the way. So yeah, now I've done that sort of kind of extended introduction that I don't do all the time. Yeah, what have you guys been up to? I'm like, Amanda, I haven't spoken to you for ages. Feels that way.
It does feel that way, although we were live lunching last week, so maybe just this week has felt long. Who knows?
It feels like there's been a lot. There's loads of projects going on at the minute.
There is, and I'm almost completely distracted by everything because of the fact that I'm actually coming to the Green Umbrella office tomorrow for the first time in about 18 months.
Amanda's going to come and pick up her Christmas presents.
It's the only reason I'm coming. I just want my Christmas presents. But no, finally get to catch up with everyone in person. It just feels really weird, but I don't feel disconnected. You know, obviously I have missed seeing you all, but I don't feel, because we do generally catch up quite regularly, and if we don't, when we do, we just kind of pick up where we left off. So, which I think is a good sign of a good working relationship, isn't it? Sign of any good relationship. You just pick up where you left off and carry on. So yes,
absolutely. So what have you been working on this week?
So it's been a bit of a copywriting week for me. And a variety of things. So a lot of the time, I think when I say I've been copywriting, it's been web copy, maybe. Particularly last year, it was web copy a go-go. So we did so many websites. This time I've been writing some copy for a recruiter who is doing a salary survey for their sector. So I'm working on that, collating the information and making sure it represents the brand and the language they've got. A press release for one of our clients, another one who are a supplier to the recruitment sector. What else? A blog to support another ebook that one of our clients has worked on. So yeah, it's really copywriting central here for me this week, which is good. That's what I like. People know that I'm the rest. I'm just looking at the comments. The fact I'm distracted by the comments that have come in. You might have to put that on the screen. So yes, Christina's got me some empty gin bottles apparently for Christmas.
I'm like, thanks for that, Chris. She might not come now.
Just rewrap them; they'll be fine.
Just say they evaporated. It's been that long; they've evaporated.
Yeah. So in between all the writing, have you spotted anything sort of newsworthy this week?
Newsworthy? Yes, I've been, well, as we all know, living up to my little moniker of Data Davis. So there's an article that Hootsuite put out. So Hootsuite, as most people will know, is a scheduling tool, talking about how often you should post on social media. So that grabbed my eye because I thought, well, the channels are so varied now. And we generally keep a rule of thumb with our clients when we're coaching people to say between 1 and 3 times a day. And that's about the norm. And you can see me looking at my other screen because there's obviously a lot of channels and I want to just kind of tell you the data. So Instagram, they suggest between 3 and 7 times a week. So that's for your grid, but they suggest a couple of stories a day. So, and I think that's probably grown over the years as Instagram has grown. Facebook between just 1 and 2 posts a day. Twitter, 1 to 5 tweets a day. And I think that would vary depending on, who you were, what your brand was, and what was going on in your sector. So, for example, if you were working in the sporting arena, you'd probably be tweeting quite a lot at the moment about what's going on with the Olympics and various others. You know, it's a total summer of sport at the moment. And we would tweet more often, perhaps if we were at an exhibition, you know, like Recruitment Agency Expo or the team conference. LinkedIn, they suggest, and this is really broad, so I wanted to dig into this, between 1 and 5 times a day. You know, well, which is it? That's quite a range for LinkedIn, and I would err on the lower side, I think.
Yeah, I think no more than 3 times. There's kind of a rule of 3 with LinkedIn posting, so definitely no more than 3 a day, and try and have them at least 3 hours apart. When you're putting your post together as well, max it at 3 hashtags at the end of the post. So it's kind of like a bit of a 3, 3, and 3 rule on LinkedIn. I think if you're serving an international audience, then I kind of get the sense in terms of like hitting all the time zones and that kind of thing. But then I would be, I don't know if you ever noticed it, on a company page, when you put your post together, there's a little drop down just under the company name, and you can basically add some additional like location targeting. So let's say you're serving the UK and Asia. Let's say you're doing stuff, I don't know, in Tokyo maybe. You could actually have some of those posts that only show to people in that area. So it's like being able to do the sort of targeting in that way is quite handy. But yeah, I mean, you've probably got quite a big following at that point, and like I say, definitely operating in international markets. Otherwise, it's kind of 5 is a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I really thought that. You know, I thought, well, what a broad range, 1 to 5. But 5 just feels too many. People, you know, they unless they're probably recruiters who are using it to, you know, to do their resourcing, to find people, you know, looking for candidates. People will not spend that much time on LinkedIn. You know, it's kind of a BD tool, really. So, you know, other than that, most people will probably drop in there once or twice a day to see what's going on. If you're putting 5 posts up, they're not going to get seen, and they're jostling for airtime. LinkedIn doesn't know which one to present to the audience. So yeah, I thought that was a bit of an unusual one, but yeah, I think, as you say, we kind of stick to probably the lower end, 1 to 3 max, as you say, rule of 3.
Cool, awesome. The Instagram stuff's interesting. So what do you say, sort of minimum 3 a week on your grid? 3
to 7 a week. So I think it's suggesting that, you know, maximum once a day, basically, on your grid, or minimum 3 a week to keep your grid sort of going through. But then up to, you know, around 2 stories a day. So I think those who are kind of, you know, celeb type brands. So if your brand or your company is you're a celebrity or an influencer, you'll do more than that on stories. And the stories, often people will put them on and then kind of say new post. So you know, sort of cast the eye down to the grid when there's something major announcement. But yeah, I'm a fan of stories on a personal level as well as a business level.
Absolutely. The other thing as well with Instagram this week is Reels. I got it right.
Yeah.
So Reels have been extended to a minute now in length as well. So when you are putting your stories together and using, you know, being able to use Reels in them as well, I think is really handy. It's kind of like their TikTok equivalent. I think when it first launched, there were loads of people using Reels, and it feels like it's perhaps trailed off a little bit. People are going back to that. I'll do it on TikTok and share it on Instagram. And even though Instagram have kind of said, well, we're going to downplay that in the algorithms and sort of reduce the reach on that, people are still doing it anyway. So I don't think it's having that much of an effect. A few weeks ago, TikTok increase the length, so you could do like a 3-minute TikTok now. So it makes sense that Reels have also extended. It's just a shame they've only extended to a minute. They've not extended it longer. But yeah, I think that's, like I say, that the whole concept of Instagram at the minute just feels really messy. Between, you've got your grid with your static posts, you've got your standard stories, you've got your Reels, you've then got your IGTVs. And obviously your IGTVs, they'll sit on your grid, and it's like a different thing again. So it's just quite a messy platform to be able to get right, because every single time the content you share has got to be massively engaging to really work.
And lives as well. So you talked about IGTV, but you know, people suddenly go live. There was a huge uptake of that when lockdown 1 kicked in. So yeah, so you're right. I guess it is quite a messy platform, a difficult one to get right.
Yeah, it takes some work. It's definitely a personal branding tool above all else over on Instagram. And yeah, you need that investment of time there for sure. Cool. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the ever so chatty Mark.
And
We have to be extra gentle with Mark this week, don't we?
Why?
He's got not COVID. Hashtag not COVID.
hashtag not COVID.
He's got a cold.
Man cold.
He's just a bit snotty is all.
Yeah. Might start coughing, and then I'll have to just turn the camera off. It'll be fine.
All right, get a grip.
It's all right. I'll take another test before tomorrow.
He's just had a week off.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah. It's
Relaxed.
always there, isn't it? As soon as you go on holiday, you get poorly because you find your body goes, relax.
Yeah.
So, did you take a proper break from, obviously, like, I know work stuff, you took a break, but did you take a proper break from like social media and stuff like that as well? Did you have a complete switch off, or is that not something that you ever really do? Or
No, I mean, I don't check emails and things, but I was probably still looking, you know, even in our groups and things, if something was posted and things like that, but not sort of more from a social aspect rather than work. So yeah, I never turn off social media.
it's funny, isn't it? Some people are like that, they have a real, and to be fair, I tend to do it at Christmas, where I'll just have a few days with nothing, like no social media at all, and just I'll delete apps and that sort of stuff just to have a real proper break from it, because I think it's what's the phrase, doom scrolling, and you know, there's people you're connected with that you feel like, you know, you should bin them off, but you feel like you can't, and that sort of stuff. And then, you know, something they've posted really irritates you, and then that puts you in a bad mood. And and the job that we do, you just can't get away from it.
That's what the snooze button's for on Facebook.
Yeah, snoozing and unfollowing and all that stuff. Absolutely. But I think it's like it still finds its way into your feed through, you know, other sources and that kind of stuff. But I think it is really important that everyone does have, even if it's just like 48, 72 hours at a time, just to have a proper kind of detox from it.
It's too much going on at the minute. Olympics, rugby. Need to catch up with stuff.
But all that stuff will still be there when you turn it back on again.
But not in that moment. It's only live once. Which I think is the tagline of Sky Sports at the minute or something. But
see, I think as much as sometimes there's that FOMO, isn't there, that you're missing out on stuff, and I know. Was it today you were supposed to be flying out to South Africa, Mark?
yeah, so Amanda should have been last week.
Yeah, I should be there now.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, like, you've got the FOMO thing, but you've got the joy of missing out as well, the JOMO. And I just think sometimes, and there's a lot of people right now that just kind of need a bit of a break, that, you know, need a proper break from work. I know we're going into holiday season and that sort of stuff, but actually it's a break from all the tech as well, just to recalibrate and come back fresher. I feel like I'm really trying to convince you guys.
Well, Jane is Jomo Jane. That's her new hashtag. So she loves a bit of joy of looking out.
Not on social though. I don't think I've ever switched my social off ever since Facebook was invented.
I was going to say, first Monday you were on holiday, I got a Slack from you.
But that's because I'd forgotten something.
Yeah, I've never deleted an app. I've never deleted a site. I've turned my notifications off because when you manage a lot of accounts, then obviously you get, you know, ping, ping, ping all the time. So, but yeah,
the only app I turned off was the work phone.
Oh yeah, I did that one as well when I went away.
Yeah.
There's a limit, isn't there? I'm not answering work calls on holiday.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And so you got nothing for us this week, Mark? You just haven't done anything since Monday, no?
Nah, nothing. Just been cruising around the office, just, you know.
Sat on your hands.
Yeah.
spinning in this chair.
Yeah, looking out the window, waving at you down the other end of the office.
If only that was true. I mean, like, it's like website and PDF. So, like, loads of people are looking at kind of, you know, their lead generation stuff, their PDFs, that kind of stuff again now as well. I know we've had a few conversations about one-page PDFs versus ebooks versus all sorts of other things, and what's going to work best for some of our clients and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been I think it's been a week of bouncing ideas around.
I think that's the thing as well. I think we were thinking it's perhaps going to be quiet in August, but actually I think a lot of people are trying to get things actually in place, ready for sort of September and taking the opportunity. And I think it could actually be quite a busy month rather than a quiet month. So there's sort of lots on the horizon.
Is that your way of asking if you can get out of the next 2 live lunches so you can catch up?
Woohoo! I mean, sorry. No. I've just got to ring Chris back now. I've got to go, yeah.
Awesome. So Jane, let's come to you. I know you've got a couple of social media news bits to share with us.
I have, yes. 2 things really. So this is a test, but who knows where it'll go. So Twitter have jumped on the bandwagon of shopping through their platform. And so they're running a test in the US at the moment. So if you sell anything, you can have a little shop carousel at the top of your profile. People can tap on the products to have a look, find out a bit more about them, and then they can buy them through Twitter as well without actually ever leaving the platform. So I think that was a bit of I can't see myself going into Twitter to buy something, but every other platform's offering shops. So I suppose it's inevitable that Twitter would do the same, isn't it, really?
But it's a weird one considering the demographic on there. It's not, I don't know what kinds of products would sell particularly well on there. I don't know, it feels like they're just following a trend rather than actually serving their audience. And what, you know, I mean, we all know Twitter advertising has never really rocked the world, has it? So whether it's also just another way of them trying to, you know, increase their bottom line. Twitter's had a few years where financially they've not done particularly well. I think last year they did better in terms of ad revenue and stuff like that as well. But yeah, it just feels like it's something that might just disappear again in 6 months' time.
It's a paid for service as well, actually. So if you want to have a shop on there, you've got to pay to have it. So I feel like all these platforms are trying to be all things to all people all of a sudden and losing sight of what they're actually about.
Yeah. It is interesting when you're working in different sectors though, and you're seeing how different sectors can use social media to market their products. Obviously, we work with a lot of service-based industries. Recruitment, everyone knows, is a big chunk of what we do. But actually, when you look at e-commerce and you look at some of the strategies that are being implemented on that side, you can kind of see how actually, if we adopt that strategy from over here as a service-based industry, actually you start to really see a shift in results. So although I'm kind of looking at all of this like online shopping stuff going, you know, I don't get excited about marketing products really. It's not the kind of e-commerce marketing stuff. It's good to read. It's not something I get excited about getting my hands on and strategizing over. I'm just desperately thinking in case I've just sort of like put my foot in it with any of our clients. I don't think I have. But yeah, it is interesting when you look at stuff from like taking people through your funnel, the targeting stuff, the having a landing page where people go through to get some sort of offer, and there's an additional offer on it, and how that all builds up to take people through, build loyalty, that kind of stuff. It's like, actually, when you look at that and go, right, how do you put this into a service-based model? There's some really cool things you can do. And in some of the sectors that we're working in with our clients, it's kind of no one is doing this stuff. So like I said, it's good to sometimes just look outside of your industry and say, right, what are other people doing? Identifying the strategy and then finding a way of for that to work in what you're doing. But yeah, that's my 2 pence on that one. Like I said, they'll probably just take it away in 6 months or 12 months anyway, like they did with fleets.
Fleets, yeah.
So
that just never took off.
No, but it's like LinkedIn stories. So did you see LinkedIn stories have announced this week or end of last week? They've announced an integration between LinkedIn stories and Canva.
Yes, I did see that.
I didn't see that, and I'm a big fan of Canva, as you know.
Yeah. So it's like you go, oh, really exciting, and then you go, but no bugger bothers using stories on LinkedIn. So what does it matter?
That's so true. Oh, shiny. Maybe not so shiny.
Yeah. So it's kind of, I'd rather there was an integration with just general posting on LinkedIn. Now that would be exciting. But yeah, I was just kind of like, oh. There you go. So go, Jane. What else is on your list for this week?
So the next thing is Facebook have launched a little mini site basically for campaign ideas generation. So if you're a small business and you want to advertise, but you don't really know what to say. So the technicalities of how to put an advert together, but you don't necessarily know what to write in your advert or what image to use. So basically this little site, you go on it and it's got you can set your focus, so you can say Christmas related or Easter, or you can say it's travel related, anything basically that you want to do. You might be e-commerce or whatever. So you pick your little sectors that you want your advert to go in, and then basically it gives you ideas. So it just showed a little list of if it was a Christmas post saying fill your stocking with our whatever this year, or that kind of thing, just to give you ideas. And there was some ideas of images and stuff like that. You might not want to just take their exact text, but it just puts that idea in your head of, oh yeah, I can do that, but I'll change it up a little bit so make it mine. But I think that's where people do struggle, is just to think, well, you don't have a lot of space to write text in an advert. What do you say that's short and snappy and gets the point across in very little amount of characters? So I think giving ideas like that is a really good idea. And then it's got some data insights. So when you picked your choices and had a look, and it will then give you sort of a bit of an idea of how well it thinks that post will do. How accurate it is, I don't know. I don't know exactly whether it puts any more targeting into it or anything, or if it's just a sort of generalization. And then after that, there's also an organic post pack. So it gives you some templates then based around that you can then put on your page. So I think, again, it's targeting small businesses, helping people out who maybe don't have the budget to use people like us. And yeah, I just thought it was a really, really useful site. So yeah, that excited me, that one.
I think it's quite a good resource, because if you're using ads elsewhere, so let's say LinkedIn ads, for example, or even if you think about, I need some help putting my organic content together, the information is very transferable. Just because it's Facebook, it doesn't mean that we can't actually use some of the lessons within it on LinkedIn, for example, or even on Twitter and Instagram. Like I said, I think sometimes people go and they look at these tools and that's a Facebook tool. All the information there is relevant to Facebook, and they kind of don't look beyond that. So yeah, I do think it's quite a useful tool. Sometimes it can be too generalised with some of this stuff. So I think I was reading an article on this, looking at some of the screenshots and that kind of stuff, and I was just like, be interesting to go and look at it from the perspective of a few different types of business to see how different the examples are in comparison. So we'll have a good nosy at that one.
I think that's why it's important not just to copy what it says, but to use it to get your own ideas from, rather than, otherwise it's just copy and paste, isn't it? And everyone will be saying the same thing. So, but yeah, for ideas, definitely is a good idea.
And is that open to everybody? Sorry if I missed that in the detail, but
I
it's
think so. It's very new. I've only read it in an
Mm.
article rather than looked at the actual thing.
Okay, cool.
So from what I gather, it's
Mm.
open to everybody, and it literally just launched in the last week or so. So.
Yeah, I think I only saw an article on it like yesterday.
Oh, it really is then hot
new.
off the press, yeah.
Shiny new. There's loads of tinkerings going on with Facebook at the minute. Have you noticed? Like weird things appearing one day and then disappear, and not even like the whole business suite creator studio stuff that's been going on, but just from a personal Facebook use perspective, you kind of log in 1 minute and there's additional buttons, then they're like gone 10 minutes later. You kind of go back a page thinking, I'll go back and look at that, and it's disappeared. So there's a few oddities around at the moment. So if anyone's having issues with Facebook, stuff not loading properly, that kind of thing, I think we're perhaps due for another little wave of updates and things. And then, I mean, the last few months they've talked about testing tons and tons of stuff. So whether we're going to get some of that now rolled out, I'm not sure. But yeah, it seems to really be playing us up at the minute.
Yeah, the Business Suite Creator Studio, I think I had a bit of a whinge about it a couple of live lunches ago, because I really didn't like the way they changed it. It just felt like what was a user-friendly business side of Facebook. So you could go in, check your notifications. If people had shared your post, you could see who they were. A lot of that functionality was lost. But it feels like maybe there, as you say, maybe just lots of little tweaks and tinkerings coming in. Maybe it's just that I'm getting used to it, but yeah, it's becoming a bit more user friendly. There are still some annoying things that you can't easily just like click back and get to your list of notifications. You sometimes have to go back to the business suite and go to the page. So it's clunkier than it was, but equally they are, I think, making the tweaks. So hopefully they are listening to people's feedback and going in the forums and discovering for themselves that some of the changes they made do not add to the user experience.
Yeah, I think it's like when you're clicking around on this stuff, if you know, just don't fall into the trap of thinking that everything that is new, you know, check out the new insights for pages doesn't necessarily mean that it's an improved insights for pages. I can't remember which page I was on now. It's like, check out the new insights. And I thought, ooh, that's exciting, because you know, like a little bit of data to feed back to clients. And I clicked through and it's like, whereas we'd normally be, you know, there'd be like 10, 20 graphs on your page that you can click through and everything else. There were like 2. And they weren't, it wasn't even useful stuff. I was like, oh, how do I get back to the original stuff again? That was loads better. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of changes in terms of analytics and the information we can get from the platforms to know what's working and what isn't. And even when you look at Google Analytics, like the new version of Google Analytics is just a bit of a nightmare, really. Some of the really good stats that I rely on, you can't access them easily anymore, which is not necessarily a problem for us, but I think of some of our clients trying to make their way through GA. Yeah, it doesn't bode well. Cool. So what else have we been seeing this week?
I had one other little thing about Snapchat. It's not very exciting because I don't even know if anybody actually uses Snapchat, but apparently they've introduced a Places feature. So people check in on Snapchat and it uses that algorithm to see what kind of things you like. And then when you're near somewhere, it'll pop up with a little, you know, if there's a cafe over there you might like because you like this one over there. So, you know, not very exciting. Like I said, I don't know who uses it. I've never used Snapchat myself personally, but if you do, maybe it's a really handy feature. I
have my teenage nephew living with me at the moment, as you guys know. And to me, it's been quite a revelation because I've been really trying to understand kind of how he and his friends use social media, how they communicate with each other and what they do. So Snapchat's still quite a thing and the messaging is still quite a thing for them. So I think WhatsApp is kind of used a bit, but that's, you know, kind of, I've got loads of group chats. That's where mum messages me. Don't always read them. You know, they might be unread for weeks and weeks and eventually you'll reply. So it's kind of, you know, that in some ways I think maybe is like their Facebook You know, it's Facebook. That's where the grown-ups, the boring ones, hang out. So they still communicate through Snapchat. And he had some friends come and visit who didn't know where they were going. They hadn't exchanged address details of where to come. It was just a rough case of Southampton. I don't actually live in Southampton. I'm about half an hour outside of it. But they use the Snap map, so the location, and they just followed that. Yeah. And they turned up to where he was working rather than our house. But I was kind of like, oh, that's pretty industrious actually as well. Kind of, you know, that's just that's how we communicate. That's how we find people. So yeah, I know we talk about Snapchat. You know, is it a social media platform? Is it just a photo editing platform? But it's been really interesting for me to kind of see into their world a little bit of, well, actually they're there quite a lot. It's a messaging platform. That and TikTok. Seems to spend a lot of time on TikTok when he's not working.
Yeah.
So
Snapchat, I can't remember the exact figure because I'm not good with figures, like recalling them. So I like really focus like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and then all the other figures just like disappear out my brain. But I think it is like less than 25%, certainly less than 30% of over 16s in the UK are actually using Snapchat. And it really is. You've got this kind of age range, if you like, that are definitely using it. But it kind of, from that sort of, I mean, I'd say like 18, 19 onwards, probably, maybe up to 22. After that, you've not really got many people using that platform. But it's really interesting. I've got talked to a client this week, and they've been a recruitment client. They've been trying to do all sorts of things, and they do a lot of white collar, high volume recruitment. You know, and obviously it's the summer. There'll be a lot of 16-year-olds working temp, that kind of thing. And they are actually about to launch some ads on Snapchat to try and get candidates in that way. So I'm really interested to see the results on that. I think it's probably one of those things where I'm a bit dubious. It's not something I would have recommended, if I'm really honest. But I think it probably is the kind of thing where when you're thinking about who your customers are going to be tomorrow, the year, next year, the year after, could actually be a really cool tool to kind of get people on board with you now from a loyalty perspective, so that when they do then get to that point where, say that my youngest is 15, if she was starting to see stuff now from a local recruitment agency, when she then turns 16 and she's looking for that kind of first job and the rest of it, actually, that's who she'd be more likely to go with. She'd have that brand awareness, have that loyalty, and go that way. So it's an interesting strategy.
Definitely.
I muted. You heard my dog barking. So, although as Chris has just pointed out, my cat's having an identity crisis. So she's just kind of, I can't get my, there we go. This is Pepper. But the dog was barking downstairs as well. So it's suddenly all kicked off. But you're right. I think it's a really interesting strategy. As you said, Jane, as well, I don't know anybody else that uses Snapchat. So it was quite interesting to understand. So Sam is 17, and that is how his friends communicate. So, yeah. But, give it a year or so, maybe they will move on to WhatsApp or the next thing, or who knows.
Really interesting. So, Mark, are you a Snapchatter? You're down with the kids.
I've got an account, and there's about 3 of my friends that probably use it, but they're all probably a bit younger than me, to be honest, probably in their 20s. So there seems to be a lot of people that perhaps set up an account and they never really do anything with it. I don't occasionally post a story on there, but that's about it, really.
It's definitely one of those apps where, when it first launched, we were all, we were all in checking it out, trying to figure out how to use it, how to leverage it, that kind of thing. And although it's never gone away, like some of the other stuff has disappeared over the years. I just never really saw commercial value for our sector, basically. For the clients that we work with, they're just, yeah, if we were working with kind of, blue chip global brands, then yeah, I could, fashion brands, or kind of like, again, e-commerce products that are pocket money kind of, or, like high trend type things, then I can see it then. But other than that, someone, a recruitment agency in the Midlands, I can't see them doing loads on Snapchat, or an electrical engineer in the Northeast, I can't see Snapchat working for them particularly well. It's it's a funny one, really, really funny one.
I just can imagine Mark taking lots of selfies and getting with little bunny's ears and stuff. Cute little filters.
No, just use the filters on other people. That's better. That is a good use of Snapchat.
I don't know what to say. I think this is the thing. Like, for someone whose life is social media, it's like I just don't buy into all that stuff. I don't get like, oh, look, I'm a singing piece of broccoli. I mean, I just don't get me wrong. It's like when my 18-month grandson is on my lap, and he loves it. He thinks it's really, really funny. And and it's like he's talking to this piece of broccoli on the phone. Not that he can talk yet. But
broccoli or Andrew?
Actually, I shouldn't say that. If Emma's watching, she'll be cross, because he is starting to say a couple of words now. So that's me minimising things like I always do. But I just, from a social perspective, I just don't get it. I'm just not wired that way. I'm just not a lot of fun, basically.
Oh, that's not true. You're a hoot.
I said to someone the other day, I'm a delight. Awesome. Okie dokie. So the other thing I wanted to chat with you around then is that we're about to get into this place. Maybe not August, because everyone has that little bit of a dip, and even though there's travel restrictions and that kind of stuff, I think people are still having their little holidays, their breaks, that kind of thing. But then when we get back in September, it's like, it feels like there's going to be more offline opportunities again. So more events happening, that sort of stuff. Probably more so from sort of end of September, October onwards. But I think we're just starting to see it happen. And, Paul Green, we know, is a big supporter of ours. He's always here. And I think this week Paul had his first face-to-face networking meeting. He runs, I don't know, Paul, if you can put into the chat, I don't know what the number is of like how many networking meetings per week he's running. But yeah, yesterday was the first face-to-face one. And I, talking to a few people, word on the street and all that kind of thing. Obviously it was all, nice big room, socially distanced, and, that kind of stuff. But I think it was pretty much a full house from what I heard, which is really good to hear, because I know there's some meetings where people are a little bit like still unsure if they want to go back to face yet and that kind of thing. I have to admit, it's like I'm getting really excited about doing face-to-face meetings. I was out with a client on Tuesday, and but actually, who knew I would miss driving down the M1? I was like, oh, look at me! Oh, look at the speed camera! Oh.
Something tells me that novelty might wear off. Yeah, flash.
Yeah.
To be fair, it wore off a little bit driving back. I'm not going to lie. But there you go. So so if you're local, we're in Daventry. If you're in the sort of Daventry, Northampton area, then BusComm is their Northampton meeting in a little place called Harpole. So that is a face-to-face networking meeting that's happening, and I think it's every other Wednesday. It's in the morning. I love morning meetings. I'm just not a fan of actually having to get out of bed for a morning meeting. But there you go. Paul's just asked another very important question. Let's bring this up on screen for everyone to see. Thanks, Paul. Any guests coming up? because he's getting bored of us. Well, we were going to invite you, Paul,
Understandable.
but, you know,
Yeah.
Paul's off the list now, guys. But we have got some guests, haven't we, that we're sorting out dates for. We've got someone from the construction industry. We've got someone who's kind of into business growth and entrepreneurship, that kind of stuff. Jane, who else? Don't give us names, give us businesses, sectors, that kind of stuff.
HR.
Oh yeah, we've got an HR
Get our knuckles
consultant.
wrapped with that one.
Yes, yeah. We've got I think we should bring the HR consultant on the week I'm on holiday.
That's probably wise.
I think that would show some forward planning for once, some kind of like that. That's risk assessment right there. But yeah, so I think a lot of businesses are building right now, and they're looking at. We kind of touched on it a little bit last week with Angela. Kind of onboarding people, and are we onboarding face to face, online? What's the best ways of doing that? All of that sort of stuff. Because we've all accepted now the changes we're going to make for the long term. I think for a lot of businesses have now been made and are committed to. Instead of it being this like, oh, I'm not sure what we're going to think we're going to do this or we think we're going to do that. It's like decision is made now. We know what we're doing. So now we need to implement it. So I think it'd be good to get some HR stuff on from that. We should probably actually see if, and I'm saying this knowing that the guy's on holiday, but I mentioned Tovi last week. We should perhaps see if we could get John on to talk about sort of online onboarding platforms, that kind of stuff as well. That could be quite interesting. How you can use software to onboard people online and that sort of stuff. Although John develops websites as well, but he doesn't like the system that we use, so there might be a row.
I've known John for years. It's fine.
Do you reckon you can take him?
No. He's got too much hair these days.
But that's a superpower, isn't it? Having no hair.
I don't know.
It's the other way around.
It'll be the other way around, yeah.
Samson.
Yeah.
I think there was some famous dude, biblical figure.
Yeah. Famous dude.
What?
Sorry.
I'm like, did I just cut out for a minute and miss something? How did we get there?
Lex Luthor. That's what you are, Mark. You're like an evil genius.
I don't feel evil or genius today.
I honestly don't know how to rescue this right now.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments.
By hitting the off button.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell.
Oh man.
I would say I think maybe the heat's getting to us, but summer has sort of vanished.
Yeah,
it was definitely autumn yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Right. So since we've now done, a little bit of religion and we're talking about the weather, I'm going to draw this to a close, guys. Let's leave it there. There will be a guest next week, and we are just sorting out exactly which of our wonderful people it's going to be. There's a couple of people as well that dropped me messages last week that I haven't been able to go back to. We've got a marketer over in Australia that wants to join us for a call as well. So they're in a similar market to us, so it'd be good to compare notes, Oz versus UK in terms of strategy. So that's one I'm looking at as well. So yeah, keep an eye out on the Green Umbrella socials and we'll let you know who that's going to be. In the meantime, have an amazing week and we'll see you next week for live lunch at 12 noon. Bye for now.
Bye.